Welcome back, everyone. So today we're actually going to look at a pretty radical perspective on something literally all of us deal with. I'm talking about something completely mundane, taking out the trash. Specifically, we're diving into a really brilliant short dialogue titled The Zen Way of Waste Disposal. It's an amazing text because it completely flips the script on how we interact with those daily chores we usually just try to rush through. Let's see exactly how a simple trip to the paper bin can turn into an absolute masterclass in mindfulness. To kick things off, I want you to ask yourself a super simple question. How do you actually feel about junk mail? I mean, really think about that exact moment. You open your mailbox, right? You're expecting a letter, maybe a package you ordered, and instead, boom, it is just stuffed to the brim with unsolicited flyers, random supermarket coupons, and ads you definitely never asked for. If you're like most people, your immediate reaction is probably just a heavy sigh. It's a totally universal frustration. It's a nuisance, it's an interruption, just another tiny annoying chore added to your already crazy busy day. Keep that familiar feeling of annoyance right in the back of your mind as we dive into our source material. Okay, so instead of that usual frustration we all feel, we suddenly encounter this massive paradigm shift through a character named Hankman. When his friend points out that his mailbox is completely full, Hankman doesn't groan. He doesn't complain at all. Instead, his reaction is genuine, unadulterated excitement. He actually says, "Oh, cool, ads! I can throw them straight into the paper bin." It completely catches his friend off guard, as it would any of us. Where the rest of the world just sees a mailbox full of trash as this grating annoyance, Hankman sees a profound, honestly almost joyful opportunity. This interaction brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of our dialogue. On one side, we have the unnamed friend acting as the skeptic. He represents, well, the general public, basically questioning the logic. "You're happy about that?" he asks. And then on the other side, we have Hankman. Hankman earnestly replies, "Sure, I love throwing away ads. Gives me a good feeling." So the skeptic views the ads as a total nuisance, right? Something to just be dealt with begrudgingly. But Hankman? He views the physical act of disposal as joyful. He has somehow found actual purpose and deep satisfaction in the mere transport of paper. So the really crucial point here is exactly how Hankman achieves this feeling. And that brings us to his golden rule. The friend asks him if he ever actually looks at the ads. And Hankman's response? It's incredibly revealing. He says, "I'd rather not get involved. My job is to transport the ads from the mailbox to the paper bin." He deliberately separates the physical action from the content itself. He doesn't care at all what the ads are selling. By flat out refusing to look at them, he avoids all that mental clutter and dedicates himself entirely, 100%, to moving the paper from point A to point B. And this is right where the dialogue gets a wonderful touch of comedic absurdity. The skeptical friend poses this hypothetical scenario. What if you just stopped getting ads altogether? Like, what if nobody got ads anymore? Hankman says he's okay with that. But then the friend pushes a little further. What if everyone else got ads, but just you stopped getting them? Hankman's response is this amazing quote right here. That would be a little mean. Just think about that for a second. He has elevated this basic chore to such a vital, personal practice that he believes it would literally be cruel for the universe to deprive him of his junk mail. He genuinely needs the junk mail to practice his craft. At this point in the text, the skeptical friend realizes, okay, there is something much deeper going on here. He stops questioning the logic and instead asks, "May I assist you with the disposal? Maybe I can learn something." And Hankman gladly accepts, completely shifting from this eccentric friend into almost an instructional guru. He introduces what we can essentially call the art of disposal. He reveals that his good feeling isn't just some quick mental trick. It is actually rooted in a highly specific, totally intentional physical methodology. It's designed to find absolute harmony in the most mundane task imaginable. So, Hankman breaks it down. He explains that the technique actually demands precision and a lot of respect. First, you hold the ads properly with both hands. This implies a real care for the object. Then, only shortly before reaching the bin, do you switch to one hand. You use your free hand to lift the lid with a harmonious motion. He strictly emphasizes this part, absolutely no jerky movements. Every single action must be completely smooth and deliberate. Hankman gives this technique a very specific name. He calls it flowing movement. He notes that flowing is exactly the right word for it. And this continuous, harmonious physical action, it isn't just for the split second you drop the paper in the bin. No, He insists that the exact same rule applies to the entire walk to the bin and, crucially, to the way back as well. It is a complete, unbroken cycle. Hankman tells his friend that after a while, this flowing movement just becomes second nature. It allows you to quietly observe yourself while doing it. And that physical and mental synchronization, that is the absolute foundation of his entire practice. But of course, Hankman doesn't just stop at the foundation. Once you've mastered the physical basics, you actually enter the advanced stages of the philosophy. This is all about integrating external conditions. The idea is that once your body is moving harmoniously on autopilot, your mind is finally freed up. It can now engage dynamically with the environment all around you. So what exactly are these external conditions? Well, Hankman lists them out specifically in the text. He mentions the sun, the wind, the air temperature, and the rain. Now, I want you to take just a second and imagine applying this to your own life. Imagine walking out to your recycling bin, and instead of just rushing back inside to beat the cold, you are consciously, mindfully feeling the warmth of the sun, or the chill of the wind, or noticing the exact temperature of the air on your skin. All while maintaining a perfectly flowing, harmonious walk, you are literally turning a 30-second chore into a profound sensory meditation. Which brings us to a really beautiful moment of self-reflection in the text. Hankman tells his friend, yes, I especially enjoy the rain. That's the stage I'm at right now. This perfectly frames his waste disposal not just as a static habit, but as a true Zen practice with distinct levels of mastery. He has leveled up to the point where inclement weather, something that would normally make taking out the trash even more miserable for the rest of us, is actually his absolute favorite condition to practice in. He has literally found complete serenity in the rain. However, even a dedicated master like Hankman admits he isn't quite perfect. He reveals to his friend his current challenge, basically his final frontier. He confesses, I'm still having some trouble with the sounds though. I need more practice there. At the moment, I don't perceive them very consciously. This brilliantly illustrates that mindfulness is an ongoing, never-ending journey. Even when you've mastered the physical, flowing movements, and even when you can totally embrace the rain, there is always another layer of awareness to unlock. In his case, it's tuning into the ambient sounds of the neighborhood during his walk. Ultimately, the big takeaway here is that the quality of our daily lives isn't actually dictated by what we have to do, but by how we choose to do it. Think about it. A mailbox full of junk mail is just an objective fact, but deciding to view the transport of that paper as a harmonious, flowing, sensory-rich practice, that is a choice. Finding harmony through deliberate movement and awareness literally turns an everyday nuisance into a real opportunity for mindful joy. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly important question. What mundane chore will you transform today? Look, you might not get super excited about junk mail, but we all have our own paper bins, right? Maybe it's doing the dishes, folding your laundry, or even just sitting in traffic. How can you apply Hankman's methodology, focusing on the action rather than the annoyance, to completely change your experience? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep focusing, and I seriously challenge you to go find your own flowing movement today.